Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today is Friday, February 27th. It's been a week since I vlogged. It's just been very run-of-the-mill, nothing too interesting, but this was our first 5-day week back in quite some time. And so we're a little tired. It's Friday nonetheless, but it's definitely been a long week. But today I wanted to bring you along with me because it is a very standard day in the life here in 4th grade. And I just wanted to kind of talk you through that, show you some things. I do have glimmers to share. Those are like good things. And we're gonna hopefully reset my word walls for math and science because it's been a big testing week. And we also, at the end, are gonna go through a new kind of behavior management system that I'm using leading up to spring break. So without further ado, let's jump into it. We are gonna start with some glimmers, also known as good things. This is the time of the year where you're just dragging a little bit. I mean, thankfully, most of winter is kind of behind us. However, this week was a full week, next week is a full week, the week after that is a full week, the week after that is spring break. So we can make it, but you kind of get stuck in this cycle, and I feel like during those times, I tend to be the least positive just because it feels like one day after next after next, and you have to look for those glimmers because if you don't look for them, you're not gonna see them. But once you start looking, you see them everywhere. So my first glimmer is really just my students, and this is me bragging on them, and I understand I am biased because they are my students, but they truly are the best. In fact, yesterday during my morning meeting, I bullet out things that we have to discuss, schedule changes, reminders, and one of my bullet points was just telling them thank you, because there are so many little things that they do that I don't acknowledge enough. And I really want them to realize, like, hey, I see you doing these things. It makes my teacher heart so happy. And it's little things. It's a student is out of the room and another student offers to copy down their notes in their notebook, or a student is out of the room and another student offers to carry their switch bag to my partner teacher's room, or I was leaving to go to a meeting on Wednesday and my new pencil organizer, I noticed like my students, without being asked, it's just part of our routine, took all of the dull pencils and sharpened them. And it's all of those little things that just compound, but it's also like individual moments that I have with students. For example, yesterday at recess, I have kind of a group that sits around me because I'm stationed at a bench overlooking the basketball courts. And I forget how it came up, but I mentioned something about how my main goal in life is to leave the world a better place than when I came into it. And without missing a beat, the student sitting next to me just goes, well, you already have. And the way it was said, it was just so genuine. And it was that reminder of our students and really kids in general see the world in such a simplistic way. And part of it is their naivete, right? Which is pure and beautiful. But at the same time, as adults, I think we kind of need that reminder sometimes because we overcomplicate things and we make certain things into a bigger deal than what they are. And we don't see all of those pure moments. And it's just, I'm very lucky to have my students, and I don't remind myself of that enough, and I'm doing that right now. But to take it a step further, yesterday when I came into my room, I was like, you know what? I need to write just some extra little cards to go home to families. Now we write individualized postcards for every student. So at the beginning of the year, we get a postcard for every student. It already has like their name and their address printed on it. So we fill out the postcard, we send it to the office, and then we have these, like, we call them postcard parades, but it's times where students who have received a postcard since the last parade will get called down to the office and they get celebrated and they get to hear what was written on their postcard, and then it gets mailed home. So then there's like the double celebration of when it actually shows up where they live. And I've had all of my postcards done for weeks now. I think I finished them all in like maybe November, which is great because I want to start out the year on a positive note. But at the same time, once all my postcards are done, there's still moments that I want to acknowledge. And I went digging in my cabinet and I have a bin of note cards, and I've had these for probably years now. I'm pretty sure they originally came from Target, but it's been years, so sorry, you're not gonna find them. It just says, Just a note to tell you how awesome your child is, and I actually have 2 packs of these. So I pulled out 1 pack, it has 8 cards in it. And I started them yesterday. My goal is to finish them today, but I'm just writing notes to some of those students who have really just gone above and beyond, and they've taken on, jobs in my classroom. I talked about this in my last vlog, but I don't really assign specific classroom jobs with the exception of my Geek Squad that makes sure all the Chromebooks are plugged in at the end of the day. Everything else happens organically. And I've had so many students, especially lately, which is perfect timing for like spring cleaning, but they've just taken on roles around the classroom, keeping it together, and I'm just so appreciative. So, sorry, had to brag on them a little bit. In addition to my students, another glimmer. Ooh, the weather. I mentioned winter is behind us, at least knock on wood, knock on whatever's around me, hopefully. And if you're on the East Coast, I'm so sorry that you have been dealing with all of this snow. I'm keeping you in my thoughts, but it has been glorious here this week. Most of the days it's been in like the 80s, and I'm pretty sure today, high of 83. Now we do have study hall today, Fridays. We typically have study hall. Last week we did cancel it because it was a short week. We had no school on Monday and Tuesday with students. Therefore, we didn't have study hall because we needed that time to catch up. This was a full week. We are having study hall. I'm actually the study hall teacher. We rotate between us. And so that means I don't get to go outside, but it's okay because I'll go outside during recess. And I have some students that need to catch up on work, so it's fine. So those are 2 glimmers. I like to try to pick out like 3 glimmers each day. I guess my last glimmer would be the new behavior management system that I mentioned that is gonna start next week. I do something different for the 2 weeks leading up to spring break just to kind of change it up. Now, I'm gonna go into all the details at the end, but what I really like is it's just a twist on my current system. So it's not a big change, it's nothing drastic. It's something my students are still used to, but it kind of gives it some new life, which I feel like we need this time of year. Oh, bonus, fourth glimmer. We have lunch today being prepared by a lot of our Korean families, and it's something I look forward to every year because it's absolutely amazing. So yay, lots to be proud of, lots to look forward to. It's gonna be a good Friday. New seats update. So you saw this at the end of my previous vlog. I moved student seats. I just needed a different arrangement. I needed something where I could move more easily. And I actually really, really like this arrangement. I don't think I've ever done them quite like this before, but I love this main aisle to the front of the room, and especially when I'm passing out papers, I just come down the middle and like can pass them to either side, and it's been great. And in fact, one of my team teachers saw it, she was like, ooh, I'm gonna do that same arrangement, and it's just been great. So if you've never had your seats like this, definitely give it a try. Okay, we're back at the back table. I feel like I've just been bopping around this morning. What you're not seeing behind the scenes is I get distracted and I start doing something. I'm like, Michelle, you're vlogging. But today, I do have a meeting during my planning time, which is not typical for Fridays. Usually Friday is my day where I have kind of like individual planning time to myself, but we had to shift some of our like team meetings this week because of other meetings that teachers were happening. It's just been a meeting and a testing week, can I tell you. We have taken a math test, a science test, we're taking a social studies test today, and then I've had a meeting during like every single planning period that I've had this week. Usually on Wednesday is when we do our content planning. So we would meet with the math and science teachers in order to go over like upcoming lessons. Thursday would be our team planning where we meet as a 4th grade team and go over like grade level things. Well, our team meeting had to get moved from Thursday to Wednesday, which meant our Wednesday meeting had to get moved to today because I had a meeting yesterday and I also had a meeting on Tuesday. It's just been a lot. So that being said, I'm meeting with my content team today, and I'm really looking forward to it because I'm gonna go through our plan, our countdown to STAAR, if you will. Last vlog, I went over the little heart attack that we had where we were trying to map out the units leading up to STAAR, and we realized there was a whole other module we had to fit in, and there were no review days built in. So I had my nifty little paper calendar where I was trying to scope it all out, and I have transformed it all into a digital Google Doc. So let me show you that. So as I told my team teachers, this Google Doc is our one-stop shop from now until the STAAR test. So you'll notice, let me zoom in so it's a little bit bigger. Okay, on the first page, I needed the digital representation of the physical calendar that I made just to like mentally keep myself sane. So we have this current week of February, and you'll notice that as the days are going, I'm turning the cells green just so we can kind of keep track of where we are at. I put in red things that will impact our schedule that we cannot change. So for example, house days, spring break, spring pictures, planning day. Now we only have a half of a day for planning, but that means I will have a sub for half of the day. We'll get to that when that day comes. No school, and then I've highlighted the date of the reading star and the math star. The blue represents our tests. And then otherwise, I've given like the module number, the day number of that module, and then just a brief description of what we're teaching that day. So this is just so I can see the flow of things. You'll notice, or maybe you won't, because I'm sure you don't remember the details, but originally I had put in 8 days of review before STAAR. Ideally, we would like to have 10. But because there were no days built in, I just couldn't condense enough to have 10. But I was able to condense it enough to have 9 review days. So the final review is the day before STAAR. We're gonna have 2 days of geometry, 2 days of fractions, 1 day of decimal, and then 3 days of whole number operations, which I think will be a good start. Plus, it lined up that basically the day after our students take the reading star is when we will start our review for math. And I felt like that timing just made a lot of sense. So if you scroll down the second page, I have linked some important like other documents. So this first one has like the windows for taking our CBAs, which is curriculum-based assessments. Those are like our unit tests. And then also the slides. So I've decided to put all of these into one slideshow. Again, this is just to keep my sanity. Typically, I do a separate slideshow for each module or each unit. But because we are condensing a lot of days, so for example, yesterday we technically taught 2 lessons in 1 day. I found it too complicated trying to like move slides around in the main slideshow. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna make 1 set of slides leading into STAAR. So let me show you what those look like. First of all, they are linked. So if you click on the date, it's going to bring up the slides. And when you click from there, it actually takes you to that exact day of the plans. But you'll notice on the main slide, I have it by date so that you can literally just click and go, okay, today's the 27th. Here is the lesson that I am teaching today. And again, you'll notice because we're condensing, I'm like cutting things out. But for example, yesterday's lesson, we were introducing decimals and we were connecting it to metric measurement. So we are connecting it to, if I have 10 bags of rice that weigh a kilogram, we talked about the fraction that 1 bag would be. And then from there, we connected it to decimals. So we talked about what that looks like on the place value chart, dividing by 10 each time you move to the right, filled in. And then we also had just straight practice with like writing it as a fraction, writing it as a decimal, connected it also to meter sticks. And then we looked at like decomposing a whole in different ways. We did some practice shading in and making number bonds and writing it as fractions and decimals. So then today, we're gonna be going into hundredths. And so we have spiral review. These are questions from the STAAR test last year that I've just screenshotted, inserted in. We're keeping our fluency because that is still important. So today, students will have 5 minutes on Fluency Flight, which is a practice through iReady, just some quick practice from yesterday of what we covered. We've got our application problem that comes from our Bluebonnet curriculum. And then today we're gonna be going into hundredths and looking at, hey, 10 tenths make a whole, and then 10 hundredths make a tenth, and writing it in different ways with expanded form and expanded notation. So as you go, like I still have the normal things in there, our notes, our independent like graded assignments, the practice problems from their book, our exit ticket. I have taken out some of the slides, like our debrief questions that we usually go through when we're condensing lessons. We just don't quite have time. But now, all of these slides go sequentially by date. Now the actual setup of the overview is the same as what I use for each module. So it has like the date, the lesson number, the general topic that we're covering, any materials that are needed, and then notes. So like yesterday, there was no application problem. Today, they're completing, oh, graded assignment. I need to add that to my to-do list to grade. I forgot they were doing that today. It's fine. And then I highlight any copies that have to be made. So currently, I have all of Module 6 done, which will take us past spring break through the 25th. So basically, I have the next month of plans fully done. I'm currently working on Module 7, which is condensed a lot. You'll notice a lot of like double days because these are the lessons that we have to get in before STAAR. Then we have our 9 days of STAAR review. We're gonna repeat what we did last year. When we get closer to that, I will walk you through it. But this is currently the document that I am living from for math. And as I mentioned, I'm turning the rows and I'm turning the grid green once we have taught that lesson, just to kind of keep track of where we're at. Now, as I mentioned, it has been a week of tests. So this was our word wall for the prior science unit where we talked about weathering, erosion, deposition, renewable and non-renewable resources, conservation, and then different rock properties that help them hold natural resources. So for example, last vlog I mentioned that investigation, and this is just kind of how I store some of the materials. This is a magnetic shelf, and I have the clay on there, and then the sponge I held up there with a little clip. But I need to reset this because yesterday we actually started our next science unit, which covers the water cycle and weather and climate, which I did keep out some of those materials. So our investigation, basically I put hot water in the jar, covered it with plastic wrap, put an ice cube on top. We observed it every 5 minutes to look for condensation, which there is still some of on top, but I kept it set up like this because I'm gonna add that to the word wall once I reset it. Now, we also took a math test on Wednesday, and as I mentioned, we have started our decimal unit, which means I also need to reset our math word wall. And this is how I know that my students actually use it, because I had a student yesterday when we were starting decimals, they were like, well, aren't you gonna erase the word wall? And I was like, yes, I know, I need to. It's just been kind of a busy week. So as long as I get that word wall reset before I leave, I will consider it a good day. I mean, it's gonna be a good day regardless, but you know what I mean. I will feel accomplished. My newsletter's already scheduled. I need to grade that math assignment that they do today, get that put in the grade book, grade math homework as it comes in, and then they are taking a social studies test. Thankfully, I don't have to grade much of that, just their writing, but I wanna get that put in the grade book as well. Now, let's pivot and talk about behavior management, because if you followed me last year, you may remember this, and I actually did this back when I taught 4th grade in Maryland as well. Leading up to spring break, I like to pivot my behavior management just a little bit, just enough to kind of keep it interesting and new and novel for my students without entirely changing the system. Now, I don't do a ton for behavior management. I actually have an entire video where I go through the different systems, because I do have things on an individual student level, I have things on a class level, and then I have like some other kind of throw-ins. So go and watch that video if you're curious. But on a weekly basis, I do what I call my Golden Emerson Awards. So each week, one student is picked out, and it's not just me picking them out. Whoever the current Golden Emerson is also has insight and helps to choose the new Golden Emerson, and we pass that on to a new student every week. With that, they get to have a lunch bunch with me and 3 friends. I send a positive email home to their families and let them know why they got the Golden Emerson. I have a trophy that they keep on their desk, and they get a gold bead necklace to keep, and they get a gold rock candy to enjoy. And then throughout the week, they're kind of like my teacher's assistant. So keeping that system, rather than doing it on a weekly basis, for the last 2 weeks leading up to spring break, I basically move it to a daily award, and I use this golden egg, which I have had this for years at this point. But around this time of year, you can typically find them in stores like the dollar store or Michael's, or I think even Target will have these like big gold eggs. So when you see one, grab one. Now, last year I just called it the Golden Egg Award. So instead of Golden Emerson, it was the Golden Egg. And rather than giving it weekly, every day there would be a new recipient of the Golden Egg based on their behavior or their choices the day prior. Now this year, because I realized this last year and I'm like, this was such a missed opportunity, I'm calling it the Golden Eggerson, because Emerson, Eggerson, how could I not, right? So I have already printed out the certificates. How this works, when a student gets the golden egg, they will come in, it will be on their desk in the morning along with a certificate. So it just says, the Golden Eggerson, you have been working extremely hard, your focus has been extra good, and your behavior has been excellent. And then I sign it and date it, and they get to take it home. I have a template of this from Canva that I made. Now, it'll just say the Golden Egg instead of the Golden Eggerson, because obviously that's a play on my name, but if you're interested, you can grab it. I've already printed out all of these that I will need for the next 2 weeks. And I had to laugh because when I took the golden egg out of the closet, it hit the floor. I could feel there was something in it, and all of the like leftover treats from last year fell out. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I had extras. But I've gone and gotten new treats because yes, getting the golden egg is fun, but what makes it more fun? Prizes and trinkets and nifty gifties. So when they get the golden egg, inside will be a couple different treats. Now, they don't get to keep the egg. This gets reused and passed from student to student. It basically takes the place of my golden Emerson trophy. But I do want them to have things that they can keep. So they will have their own mini gold egg on the inside that they get to actually take home with them. I just got these from Dollar Tree, but again, this time of year you can find various eggs of shapes and sizes and colors and designs at a bunch of different stores, party stores, Target, Michael's, etc. So I've gotten 18 of them. Now I will be doing this in my morning class and my afternoon class. And I decided 18 is a nice number. So basically Monday is when I'm gonna explain this to my students. Right now, they know we're doing something different, but they don't know what it is. So Monday, I will show it to them, explain it to them, and they will know that that's what they're trying to earn. I will award it to the first student on Tuesday. So when they come in Tuesday morning, we will have the first official Golden Eggerson. That being said, I need 4 days worth for next week and then 5 days worth leading into spring break. And between 2 classes, that's a total of 18. And a lot of things came in similar quantities, such as these eggs. I was like, that works out well. So they will have a small gold egg inside, and inside that gold egg, I put robin's eggs, which are basically like malted milk balls, but they're shaped like little speckled eggs. And these were some of my favorites as a kid, and a lot of my students had never heard of them last year, so I was like, okay, we're getting them robin's eggs so that they can experience it. But I put a couple of these inside the egg so they get a little sweet treat. They get to keep the egg. Last year, I found these, I think they were like Peeps lollipops. We're doing, basically, they're like ring pops, but again, they're like little chicks, very cute. So I got 1, 2, 3, okay, 4 of them was 16, so I had to get an extra pack, 18. The extras of these will just go into my prize box, so it's fine. This will also be inside the big gold egg, not the little one. And I got 2 bags of robin's eggs. And then I also at HEB this time of year, they put out a bunch of really cute spring things. So I was able to find more carrot erasers. Now last year, the carrot erasers were tiny and these ones are bigger. So that's cute. They'll get a carrot eraser, and these came in a 6-pack. So I think I got 3 of these, maybe, hopefully. Uh-oh. Oh no. Okay, I was gonna say, there's no way. So 3 of these, that's 18. And then last year, I also had given them these little carrot highlighters that I thought were adorable. And so I was able to find similar ones. It's funny because these ones are smaller this year. So the erasers are bigger and the highlighters are smaller, but it says carrot markers, but they're basically little highlighters. So these came in a 4-pack. I think I got 5. 1, 2, 3, yes, 4 and 5. So that's all gonna go inside of the gold egg. I wanted it to be not too candy-centric. I wanted it to have things that they could actually use, like the eraser and the highlighter, but keep it on the theme. Now, these were just extra because they were so cute. They're little squishies, which my students love squishies. These are just gonna go in my prize box, but it's little chicks, and then there's also like little carrots. Oh, they're adorable. I got 2 bags of these. I think each one has 8. So these are not going in the golden egg. These are just going into my prize box because I couldn't resist them. But I have all of this ready. Each day I will go ahead and load up the egg before I leave, and I'll have the things out for the afternoon class. So when my students go to lunch, I'll just put it out on their desk, but they will find out on Monday. It's just an easy little behavior management thing to kind of do. And I love that it's a twist on what I already do. So it's not super different, but it's just different enough to kind of put a little more spring in their step, if you will. That being said, I feel like that's enough for this vlog. I hope that you enjoyed it, maybe got some new ideas to try, whether it's a way to kind of organize your plans or prepare for a big standardized assessment or a new behavior management system, or just looking on the bright side of things, because I feel like we all need that reminder from time to time. Regardless, if you did enjoy it, please give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. As always, if there's something specific you want to see, leave a comment, let me know. I do read them and I use that as feedback and ideas for future videos. But as always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, find those glimmers, and I will catch you in the next one.